Stalkers! Let's start the video with a disclaimer.
The purpose.
Again, the purpose of this video is to start a dialogue. You know, this happens to be a subject matter that I really enjoy discussing with people. So if you want to join the discussion and add something constructive to the conversation, then by all means, leave a comment. However, if you're gonna be somebody that's just gonna bash other people, be disrespectful, or get butthurt over nothing, then I'm going to delete your comment, so waste your time as you will. So today we are discussing the stereotype of the French being rude. Let's just dive into it. This was a comment that I got from basically everyone before I went to France. Everyone and their mom was saying,
you know the French are rude, you shouldn't go there. The French are rude, blah 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 blah.
One of my goals when I was in France was just to go there so I could go back and be like, the French aren't rude. They're the most polite people I've ever encountered, and
awkward.
That didn't happen because holy crap, I thought they were rude. Rude. Full disclosure, my first experience in France wasn't the best experience. I went back again and my mind was more open, my expectations were different, and I thought this second time around I'd go back and think the French aren't rude. Yeah.
That didn't happen.
When I went back the second time around, I still thought they were the same rude, obnoxious people that they were when I went the first time. But what's interesting is that if you ask me today, are the French rude? My answer would be no, they're not. But I understand why other people might think they are. In that time frame of going to France the first time and going to France the second time, something happened. The magical, mystical thing that happened that changed my perspective of the French being rude or not rude is that I lived in France and I adapted. That being said, the answer to that question, if you want to know, are the French rude, is you have to go to the country and figure that crap out for yourself. You know, my personal opinion for a simple, easy to go to answer is yes, more likely than not, if you're an American going to France for the first time, I wouldn't be surprised if you found them rude. The long, complicated answer is no, they're not rude, they're very nice. And that's it. But the better question is, why is it that this stereotype exists? Why is it that Americans find the French rude? And I have 3 top things that, for me personally, I think contribute to this stereotype. Let's get into it. The first is formality. The French are formal. I've met so many French people and they're all like,
we're not formal. There are formal people, but I'm not.
And it's like,
Yeah, you are.
I know this is generalizing and not at all useful, but from the bottom of my heart, the most informal French people that I know are still 1,000 times more formal than the most formal people I know in America. It's just, we don't have that formality that exists in France. We don't. There are so many social etiquettes that you have in France that if you don't do them, people get upset. You know, if you don't eat the proper way, you're rude. If you don't express yourself in the proper way, you're rude. And we have social etiquette in the United States, but it's not that big a deal if you break them. And if you're someone who is really into social etiquette to the point that you make a big deal about it, it's not a good thing. People are gonna say that you're a snob. And you don't wanna be a snob. You wanna be laid back, you wanna be relaxed, you wanna be informal, because that's the best way of being polite and being equal with everybody. And it's the complete opposite in France. Being informal is being very rude. It expresses that you think you're above everybody because you don't need to show them the respect by being formal with them. It's also sort of considered really invasive in a sense because you're implying that there's a close relationship there when there's not. And it's not nice, and that can be really difficult. One, because these types of social etiquettes are, unspoken rules that if you grew up there, you know them and you're golden. If you're a foreigner coming, you don't know, and sometimes it's made more difficult, if you speak the language proficiently and they don't know that you're a foreigner, so they just presume that you're an idiot and you're a rude idiot. Or if you live there for a long time and they're like,
how do you not know this? You've been here for like X amount of years.
Problem number 2 is going to be communication in general. Putting aside like the actual language barrier of somebody having to learn French, expression is something that is completely different from language. And the way that the French communicate with one another is completely different than how people in English would communicate with each other. By that basis alone, I would say that whenever I am in a room with French speakers and they're just speaking amongst themselves, even if I'm not in the conversation, I do find the way that they talk to each other to be really rude and aggressive. The French people don't mean it to be. That's just them being interested. That's them being part of the group, being part of the conversation. It's not meant to be rude, but at least for me, not having grown up with the language, not understanding the expression, if I spoke the same way that they do in France and America, I would have no friends because you don't do that. It's rude, it's obnoxious, nobody would want to know you, nobody would want to be your friend, and it's difficult. That's putting it mildly. And it's difficult to explain this without being judgmental. I feel like when I'm speaking to somebody back home, there's sort of this like back and forth of pleasantries. It's like soft pitch baseball. We're not trying to like dominate one another. We're not trying to cause a commotion or a scene. We're testing the waters to see how it goes. Versus when I'm talking to somebody in French, I feel like I'm beating them with my point of view, and it makes me feel like I'm being really mean and rude and intrusive. It's not the case. It really isn't, because when you flip the situations around and if you ask a French person, what's it like to speak with an American? The comments that I've heard is that they find us to be really insincere or ungenuine, and it's because we don't express ourselves dominant and we express ourselves from their point of view in a very submissive manner, which is very eye-opening because it made me see communication in a whole new light and made me understand how to express myself better in French. But at the same time, it was like, wow, I can't believe we have these two very distinctive and different ways of expression. If you don't know they exist, it can lead to, some misunderstandings and problems. So the third and final thing that I think contributes to this is going to be corrections. I feel like I need to put a disclaimer with this one because I'm from the North. In the North, we have this thing of PDA, public displays of affection. Like, you're not supposed to be touchy-feely. Like, it doesn't matter if you're dating, it doesn't matter if you've been married for 50 years. You keep your hands to yourself. But another acronym that we had was PDE, public displays of emotion. Okay, you are not supposed to go crying in public. You're not supposed to get angry in public. You're not supposed to cause a scene. Causing a scene is like the biggest social taboo that you can do. For me, growing up in the North, if somebody did a social faux pas, I would be really surprised if anybody said something. They might say something on the drive home saying, like, that wasn't cool, you should probably contact them and apologize for what you did. Making a big deal about it in the public forum and calling attention to it just is not okay. You don't do it. You don't. That's not how it works in France. If you mess up, people are going to correct you, and they're going to correct you right away. They may not let up on it. They're going to beat the horse past the point of it being dead. Yeah, I've had some issues with this in the past, and it's one of those things that to this day sort of rub me the wrong way. It's like, okay, I apologize. Either get over it or cut me off. Oh yeah, it can be difficult. As I stated in the beginning, this is a topic that I really find interesting, so if you have something that you want to contribute and add your 2 cents, I would love to hear from you because, spoiler alert, the French actually find Americans pretty rude too, and that was something that was surprising and eye-opening and really interesting to learn about, because at the end of the day, we just have 2 different ways of looking at the exact same thing, and that just makes the world really beautiful and really interesting. So leave your comments below, but if you're gonna be like butts, I'm just gonna delete them, so.
You've been warned.
If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Ring the bell for notifications if you want to know when my videos come out. You can follow me on Twitter, and all my social links are in the description below. I'll see you guys in the next video. Tootsies, me applesines. I think we had summer. There was this week where it was beautiful. There was the sun, there was no rain, and it was warm. It was great. And then it's changed where it's like, there's the sun and it looked nice. It was like, psych, it's cold. And now there's rain again. Summer, come back.